During application, you must follow the second commandment and always keep the same mix from the bottom to the top. Do this by stirring the stain with the applicator in an agitating motion such as a washing machine would. Make sure all the pigment is mixed and not in the applicator. Stain the joints and edges with a bristle brush. Remember to stir the stain before dipping your brush. Notice how you start staining before you reach the edge. This allows you not to have large amounts of stain puddle in the corners or along the edge. After agitating the stain, spread the stain onto the concrete. Do not apply pressure, rather let the applicator do the work. Spread the stain as far as it can go. We recommend moving in circular strokes and in different directions to spread the stain evenly, as a little goes a long way. As a tip, try to stain in squares so you achieve maximum coverage. This will greatly help on the second coat. Also note, you do not need to keep a wet edge with the solid color stain. Stretch the stain as far as it goes. Once the product begins to dry, usually within minutes, it will look somewhat blotchy. You'll need to follow the third commandment and re-broom the product as it dries. Do this with the same applicator and make sure the applicator is only slightly moist. It is necessary to walk on the wet stain in order to do this. Weather and temperature will determine how soon you will need to re-broom the stain. Do not let the stain puddle. If it does, it will discolor as it dries. Remember, don't be afraid to walk back onto the product as long as it's still wet. You'll be able to broom out all your footprints. Tip: if you need to walk back onto the area that is already dried in order to re-broom another area, wet the dried area with stain and broom your footprints out as you walk back. Re-broom the entire section, joint to joint, to ensure the product has spread evenly and that it is not puddled. Don't forget to re-broom the edges. Also, there's no need to worry about overlap or brush marks. The second coat will ensure even penetration and color uniformity. Note, in colder weather, the stain will take longer to dry and may need more time in between re-brooming. And no, you can't broom too much. In most cases, you will need to re-broom the stain more than once. As a tip, if the stain does not change color as you re-broom it, that is a sign that it is almost done drying and will not likely need to be re-broomed again. Make sure you re-broom the entire surface. Do not leave slivers or stains unbroomed. Think of it as mowing a lawn or painting your wall. You need to reach every section and corner. If you leave a corner or section unbroomed, it will dry a different color. If this does happen, all you need to do is apply another application of stain. Notice how some sections are not changing color? This is an indication that we will most likely not have to re-broom again. However, you cannot re-broom too much. You may notice blotchy or lightly stained areas after the first application. That is why you apply a second application. It will give uniformity and depth to the stain. The second application will be applied as soon as the first coat is dry. Use the wet test to determine if the surface is dry enough. Perform a wet test on different areas on the concrete to see if it is ready to accept a second application. A wet test is simply scrubbing a damp rag on the surface to see if the stain will soften. It is recommended that you test multiple areas of the surface to ensure that all areas are dry and ready for the next step. As a tip, you may use a fan or a leaf blower to speed up the drying process. Make sure the stain is dry to the touch, not tacky before walking on it, as it is dried some. Now that the first application is dry, you are ready to apply the second. Apply the second application just like the first. However, keep in mind that it will usually spread twice as far as the first. Don't forget to agitate the stain on the bottom of the bucket every time you dip the applicator. If the second application is applied too soon, it will re-emulsify the first application, and it will not cover or stain evenly, and will look as though you only applied one application. This is a common mistake. It is better to wait and do the job right than to try and rush it, even if it means applying the second coat the next day. This is an example of using a large 18-inch applicator to rebroom the stain. This will speed up the job considerably. New look may not always require sealing due to the sealing elements that are already built into the product. However, it is possible to apply any sealer on top of any new look concrete products. Just keep in mind you're at the mercy of how that seal performs and the consequences if it does not. On interior floors, we recommend New Look's Clear 32 as a finish coat for extra protection, or you may use a wax as a sacrificial layer. Please feel free to contact New Look for more information about using sealers.